Wow, unbelievable. Tyson Fury and his team did not provide documentation proving that Tyson Fury had failed a test ahead of the Wilder fight, what got the summer Wilder fight canceled. Let's talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Link in the description. Boxing Scene has a brand new article. It says Fury's team didn't provide documentation for failed Rona test to Nevada State Athletic Commission, aka NSAC. So if you hear me use the term NSAC, that's what that refers to. Nevada State Athletic Commission, or to Wilder's handlers. Deontay Wilder doesn't believe that Tyson Fury actually contracted the Rona before their third fight was postponed nearly 3 months ago. Fury assured Boxingego.com during a recent interview he indeed tested positive for the Rona towards the end of an intense training camp before the Wilder fight that was supposed to take place July 24th. Peep this. Tyson Fury is claiming that was the second time, according to Fury, that he had the Rona. So he's saying he had the Rona two times during this pandemic, which started really about March 2020 to now, and now is October. So Fury's claiming he had it 2 times, and Wilder's trying to be a champion 2 times. Nevertheless, Boxing Scene has learned Fury's team never provided medical documentation of the failed test in July to anyone that represents Wilder in any official capacity or NSAC. Wow. So this is, I guess, the good boy system, and Wilder's team accepted this in good faith, because we now know that Fury didn't submit any type of documentation furthering his claim that he had Rona. Wilder's team didn't demand that Fury's representative provide proof of his failed Rona test, however, and Fury was not required to submit such medical documentation to NSAC once they had the pay-per-view postponed for 2.5 months. So basically, it sounds like Wilder just wants to destroy Tyson Fury, so he wants him in the ring, and he just accepted it. That's what it sounds like. He just accepted the excuse, and as long as the fight got rescheduled, then he was content with that, and he didn't make a big fuss. But to now find out that no information was submitted, it just shows you what type of character we're dealing with Tyson Fury. Quote, this is the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Pay attention. It says, to the best of my recollection, NSAC did not receive any documentation from the fighters scheduled to fight on the Wilder Fury 3 card. Bob Bennett, executive director of NSAC, you sometimes see him at the boxing fights, right, told Boxingscene.com in reference to the postponed July 24th event. Quote, additionally, none of our ringside physicians administered a lab-based PCR test to any fighter on the Fury Wilder card. So what this suggests is none of the direct ringside physicians with NSAC tested anybody. So they basically had nothing to do with Fury's whole, hey, I got the Rona. Wow. It was none of their people. Similarly, when Errol Spence, for example, when he found out he had a torn retina, the story goes that Errol Spence was doing a preliminary medical check with NSAC, and they discovered it, and then he got a second and third opinion confirming the torn retina. But in this case, dealing with Tyson Fury, Bob Bennett is on record saying that, to his knowledge and recollection, and he's the director of this NSAC program, we didn't get any information confirming Tyson Fury, and none of our physicians, because they have their own, medical staff or whatever, none of our physicians administer a test to not only Tyson Fury or Wilder, but no one on the card. Wow. It says Evan Korn, a spokesperson for Bob Arum's top-ranked Fury's co-promoter, informed Boxing Scene that Fury failed a Rona test administered early in July by Critical Mass Gathering Medicine PLLC, which was contracted to conduct Rona tests for fighters on top-ranked cards since June 2020. What a coincidence. So they have their own third-party proprietary team that works on top-ranked cards, and then now the top-ranked spokesperson is saying, hey, he failed a test because this company that we use said he failed a test. So there's no neutrality here. There's no like neutral source like INSAC, who doesn't work for Wilder, or PBC doesn't work for Top Rank. This is somebody who is paid and hired on to run these for the Top Rank shows from Bob Arum and Top Rank. That don't look good. It says one of INSAC's physicians, Dr. David Obert, is a managing member of this group, Critical Mass Gathering Medicine, blah, blah, blah. But Obert didn't administer Fury's Rona test. So there's somebody who has a dual role and is with INSAC and is a ringside physician or part of the medical, and he also works for this third-party Rona testing agency, but he's not the one that did the test on Tyson Fury. So it really, none of that really matters then. You see what I'm saying? How does that really matter if he works for the company and he works for INSAC, but he's not the one that found the failed test for Tyson Fury? Tom Brown, president of TGB, which represents Wilder, could not be reached for comment. Tim Smith of PBC and Al Haymon's premier boxing champion declined to comment. So PBC's not even speaking on it. They just like whatever. Because, I mean, it's fight week. So at the end of the day, it's too late. The fight was postponed. You got to wait. Wilder couldn't be reached for comment either, but the former WBC heavyweight champion said on the PBC podcast, and notice how a lot of people in the media are having to go get and pull quotes because Wilder has made himself a lot more exclusive. So if you get a Wilder interview, you're lucky. You know, now they can't reach Wilder, so they have to get Wilder what he said in the few interviews that he has done, which is, I find that hilarious. This is what Wilder said. I can't control what they're doing on their side, Wilder told the hosts, Kenneth and Michael. This is the PBC podcast that Wilder did an interview with. I can't control whether it's a lie or it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't believe none of it. Nothing that they've done, anybody that's been trying to run since July, anybody that's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to not fight, you can't believe that person, you know? They're trying to run away from it. I'm running to it. When it's like that, you can't believe nothing, you know, and honestly, I don't believe he had no Rona. Talk to him, champ. You know, look at his actions, Tyson Fury. Look at what Fury's done, been at different places and stuff like that. He definitely didn't act like it. So Wilder has clearly seen my videos and all the people who exposed that Tyson Fury was running around renting luxury cars days later after he supposedly had the Rona, right? Fury says, I don't care what Wilder says because, you know, if we want to take this publicly, then we have medical records by doctors here in Vegas who tested me. So, yeah, I don't think you can fake Rona with the PCR test. When they stick a big thing up your nose, you either got it or you haven't. You know, there would be no reason for me to want Rona and get out of the Wilder fight. That's lies, because at the end of the day, we were hearing rumors that he was getting whooped in sparring and he had cuts and cold sores, which is an autoimmune. Cold sores are autoimmune and they could be brought out by stress. So maybe you were stressing because you weren't doing well in sparring, which is the rumor, and you had knots and bruises and stuff to show for it. Says, why would I want to chuck away $20-30 million to fight someone I've already knocked out quite comfortable? More deflection. I just answered it. Why wouldn't I want to take that like a lottery win for free? Arum suggested in another interview that Wilder didn't need to take his word or Fury's word that Fury failed the Rona test. Bob Arum says, I don't know what Wilder believes or what he doesn't believe. This was in mid-September. But what he should at least look at is the fact that Fury got Rona. He immediately contacted the commission, or somebody did, and the commission doctors examined him and diagnosed him with Rona. So what the F is Wilder talking about? I mean, it isn't like a fighter is out and says, I need a postponement because I sprained my leg jogging. There's always questions. Was he really hurt? Blah, blah, blah. But here is something that is completely able to be checked out with the commission. But the commission said earlier in this interview that they didn't have nothing to do with him. So why shouldn't he believe me, Wilder? He shouldn't. Why should he believe Fury? If he doesn't want to, he shouldn't. But check it out with the commission that has no motive at all to lie. But the commission, if you look earlier, Bob Bennett says we didn't administer any test to any fighters. And to my recollection, guess what? He says, to my recollection, right there, we did not receive any information or intel specifically about Fury failing. So Bob Arum, what he's saying doesn't make sense. It says, check the commission, blah, blah, blah. The commission has, and it says spokesperson. So Bob Arum, that's a mid-September interview. And then I guess recent comments from the top-ranked spokesperson, Evan Korn, clarified to BoxingScene.com that Arum mistook the fact that Insac's Obert is a managing member of critical mass gathering, blah, 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 for the commission handling Fury's Rona test. But the article already told you that this guy who has the dual role didn't administer the test. So now he's the guy that looked over Fury. Bro, this is a mess. Look, it tells you right here. It says one of the Insac's physicians, Dr. David Obert, is a managing member. But it says Obert didn't administer the Rona test for Fury. So did the guy that didn't administer, per this own printed information, is that the guy that checked on Fury? Why would he, if Insac had nothing to do with the Rona test, right? And this guy is admitting he didn't administer the test, then why is Bob Arum saying that this is the guy that checked Fury after it was already confirmed from a PCR test that he had Rona? Oh man, this is a bad look, people. Link will be in the description. Please read through it. You know, I link it for a reason, to give credit, and so you guys can see it. At this point, why would Fury be trusted? Look, Tyson Fury postpones Vladimir Klitschko rematch due to injury, 2016. Tyson Fury, this is Peter Fury admits failed drug test for his nephew Tyson. Tyson reportedly fails second DRUG test, right? Tyson Fury ban explained how he failed a test, blah, blah, blah. Tyson Fury failed test scandal. So he's done it multiple times. He's pulled out of fights and postponed fights. He's been on dope and, smack and, oh my gosh. And for some reason, we're supposed to believe everything that comes out of his mouth, and all of his stories look sloppy. I mean, you could pull it up. They said Joseph Parker had the Rona, right? And he was part of Fury's camp, right? He was part of it. Then people seen on his social media feed, they said, hey, Tyson Fury's camp said you had the Rona. And then Parker was forced to come out because he was out and about, and he went to Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier part 3. So he was forced to admit when people called out the fact that he was there and he was doing videos, and he was supposed to have the Rona because he was kicking it with Fury. Then he was forced to come out and say, hey, I found out I had the Rona in the paper, Joseph Parker told, scoffing at the ESPN report. So Dan Rafael, just so you guys know, continues to maintain that Parker had Rona, but Parker himself is saying he don't have Rona. How come this keeps happening with Tyson Fury's, his team specifically? Boom, we got action. Look, and he used to work for ESPN. It says, A, Joseph Parker did test positive for Rona. B, the New Zealand media is clueless that I have not worked at ESPN for over a year, right? So he's saying that his information said that Parker did test positive, right? But then the guy who was in Fury's camp, Parker, he's saying, hey, after he got called out, he's saying, I never had it. So why is a reporter so adamant that he had it, and then the person himself is saying he don't have it, only after he was busted out by my channel, right? Per source, others to test positive for Rona in Fury's camp are assistant trainer Andy Lee, featherweight Isaac Lowe, and former heavyweight titleist Joseph Parker. And again, he was called out for attending and being at, look, there it is. Look, the internet is brilliant. This was him. He got called out because he was clearly at the he was at the Conor McGregor fight, and people were like, hey, I thought you had the Rona. And then he had to come out and say, hey, I don't have it. But you have a reporter whose information, probably from Top Rank or someone close to it, said he did have it. So now finding out that Fury's team didn't provide any of this documentation, this looks terrible. It looks terrible. And then Bob Arum did an interview and he's saying, hey, INSAC, check with them. And then INSAC's in this article and he's saying like, yo, we didn't have nothing to do with that. And they just moved the date and, no one made a big deal of it. So it was the end of it. Man, at this point, Tyson Fury has zero credibility. I'll be glad after October 9th so we could just move on and get back to just regular standard boxing. Too many lies, too much deception. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video so you guys can get the message out. That's all I got to say. I'm out.